Okay, moving on to the next question now. So it says that a wire of given material, it's not specified which material, having length L and area of cross section A, so it's given in variable terms, has a resistance of 4 ohm. Okay, we have a quantity for resistance. What would be the resistance of another wire of the same material having length L by 2 and area of cross section 2A? So this is very important because here you're not actually just multiplying numbers or dividing numbers. Here you are using the concepts to figure out what would be the effect on resistance when, because we studied that length and area affect the resistance. So here length is being halved, area is being double. So we're trying to figure out what would be the effect on resistance. So how do we do it? So we are given that there are two cases, right? Case 1, we just divide it, and case 2, right? So the material is the same we are given, right? Okay. So here, a wire of given material having length L. So this is case 1. The first information is for case 1. So length, because we don't have a specific quantity for it, so we simply write L. Area is given as A and resistance is given as 4 ohm. Okay. Now, if I write the formula of R is equal to L by A into, what is it? It is rho L by A. Now, the thing that we have to keep in mind is the resistivity. What we had said, resistance depends upon length, area, all of that. But resistivity of the material, which is this thing, this P-like looking symbol, only depends upon the material and the temperature. That is something that you have to remember. That is the key takeaway from this question. What is the key takeaway? Which means what is the most important thing you learn from this question is resistivity does not depend on length and area. Okay, resistance depends on length and area. Resistivity, because it's the constant of proportionality, it does not depend on the length and the area. Like we learned V is equal to IR. Here, even though you can write the formula as V by I equal to R, but by varying V and I, R does not vary because R is the constant of proportionality. Here R has some, it does have some factors that change it, that really affect it, but not V and I. Similarly, in this formula, the rho or the resistivity is the constant of proportionality. So these factors, if I write rho is equal to R A by L, rearranging it, I would not say that R and A and L changing would affect the resistivity, because resistivity is the constant of proportionality. So I just told you that what it depends upon is the temperature and obviously the material. As soon as the material changes, the resistance, resistivity both changes. So that is what we have to keep in mind, that therefore in case 1 and case 2, the resistivity is the same because we are not changing the temperature and we are not changing the material. Look, we are given of the same material, right? This is why it's specifically written same material, because resistivity is the same. Awesome. Okay. Now, if I leave this formula, because the length is given as L and area is given as A and the resistance is given as 4. So, I write 4 is equal to rho L upon A. Okay. I leave it here right now. I come to case 2. What is given in case 2? In case 2, it's given length is equal to L by 2 and area is equal to 2A. Now if I write, I can't write resistance as the same symbol R because it's not the same. We just have to find it out. So I'll just write R dash because it's a new resistance. So I'm just giving it a different symbol, but I don't want to give it like an XYZ symbol. It is still resistance. So we name it as R dash is equal to rho. We know it's rho L by A, but here what is the new L? It is L by 2. So we write L by 2 upon 2A. So if I write this properly, I'll have R dash is equal to rho L by 2 into 2A, right? which is equal to, so R dash is equal to rho L upon 4A. Okay, so here we have the formula for the new resistance, right? Now we have to find out what would be the resistance of another wire of the same material having length L by 2 and area of cross section as 2A. So now if I take this formula, if I don't put the value of 4 here, if I just keep this as R, now what we do usually in this case is, I can see that in this expression 1, and in this expression 2, I have a lot of quantities that can actually cancel out, that are the same. Rho is the same. Even though the length is different, it is just, in the second case, it is just half of the original length. So this L and this L are the same. This A and this A are the same. So which means that it can actually be crossed or cancelled out from each other if they are in division. So what do? I do 1, the equation 1 divided by equation 2. Okay, so what happens? What is equation 1? Equation 1 is R is equal to rho L by A, and what is equation 2? R dash is equal to rho L upon 4A. So if we simplify it, it becomes R upon R dash, because the LHS of one equation is divided by the LHS of the other equation, and the RHS of first equation is divided by the RHS of the second equation. Okay. Okay, and I'm also going to give you one like additional way or a different way which you can solve if you don't like this dividing part. There is another way you can solve it which you might find easier. You can do it any way we want. In this way, you just have to be careful about what you are dividing with what. So here it is LHS divided by LHS, so R upon R dash is equal to, if I write the RHS down, it is rho L by A divided by rho L by 4A, right? So what happens when there is this divided by? I don't have space here, so I'm going to do it here, okay, on this side. From here, I'm going right up here. So what happens? This division, when this division sign is changed into multiplication, what happens? This other term is inverted. That's what we do, obviously, right? So we write R upon R dash is equal to rho L by A into, what is it? 4A upon rho L. Now I cancel out all of the common terms. This rho gets cancelled out, L gets cancelled out, and A also gets cancelled out. So what do I have left here? R upon R dash is equal to 4. Right? Now, do I know the value of R? Do I know here resistance? Look at this. The resistance in case 1 is given as 4. Right? So what do? I take this R dash, this is what I want to find. I take this R dash to the RHS and I take this 4 to the LHS, and I write down the value of this R that I know. So I know 4 equal to, okay, I'll just take 4, the R dash to this side. So 4, I'm putting the value of this original R which was given in the question as 4 ohm. 4 is equal to 4 R dash. So therefore, R dash is equal to, the 4 goes here, so 4 divided by 4 is 1 ohm. Okay. So here we found out that the ohm, how many ohms is it? It is 1 ohm. Now, if I have to show you an additional way of doing it, so I hope you have written down this case 1, right? So I'm just going to remove a little bit of case 1 and case 2 here. Okay, I'll remove case 2 just a little bit here. Okay, so I hope you had written it down, students. If you hadn't, you can just rewind the video and see that we had reached this place, right? Come back to this equation 2 right here. Can you see? Right here. Okay, so here we have R dash is equal to rho L by 4A. I'll just write it here again. I'm just solving it here in small. So we have R dash is equal to rho L by 4A. Now, if you look at it very closely, can you see that there is somewhat some terms from this equation 1 here? Can you see it? What is common? Look at equation 1. Equation 1 is rho L upon A. Here also we have rho L upon A. What is extra? Just this 4 is extra. So what can I do? I can write this like R dash is equal to, I take out this 1 upon 4 and I write this individually. I write this rho L upon A. Right? Now if you can see, this rho L upon A is nothing but this rho L upon A. And what is this rho L upon A equal to? R. And what is R given to us as? 4 ohm. So, if I put the value of 4 ohm here, so I have R dash is equal to 1 upon 4 that we had taken out into this rho L upon A, which is the resistance, which is 4. Again 4 and 4 get cancelled and we get 1 ohm. So you can do it in any way that you like. You can do it in this division way that I told you, or you can look for those missing terms and you can separate out the terms that are common from the original expression and then substitute the value of the given resistance. Okay, you can do it in any way. Okay, great. The next question says, on what factors does the resistance of the conductor depend upon? So, the factors, you'll write this whole sentence, you'll write the factors on which the resistance of a conductor depends upon are, you'll write the whole sentence. 1, we learnt on the material. When we had seen that we had kept the area and the length constant, we were changing the material, we saw that there is a change in current. Second thing, we saw that it was dependent on the length. And you can also mention here that it is proportional to the length. Third thing is it is dependent on the area. You can say it is inversely proportional. You write the whole thing. Another thing that we saw it depends upon is the temperature. Okay? Okay, moving on. So the next question here says, will current flow more easily through a thick wire or a thin wire of the same material when connected to the same source, and why? Okay, by thick and thin, what do we mean? Okay, if I draw it just for a visual aid so that you can see it, thick means more area. Obviously thicker means this is one, if you look at this, this is one cylinder, and this, if I increase the area, is a thicker cylinder, right? So this would be a thin cylinder, it should be the same width. This would be a thin cylinder, this would be a thick cylinder. You can clearly see that this area is much less than this area. This area is so much more, the area in this wire, right? Wire 2 compared to wire 1. So it says in which would the current flow easily, through a thick or a thin wire. So we know that the material is not changing. So then we have to, material is not changing, and they have not said anything about length. So when they don't say particularly that we are changing this quantity, you assume that it's constant, because either they will tell you that this quantity is also changing. So here we know that the material is same and the length is same. So now we're going to just focus on, because we can see that in a thick and a thin wire, what is the thing that is changing? The area is changing. And what does the current flow depend upon? Because it's told us that the source is same. We know, maybe you might think, oh, V is proportional to I. So if there is a source that has a higher voltage, say we have connected a 12-volt battery, it would give much more current than a 3-volt battery. So you would say, oh, how would more current flow? It would flow by attaching a higher voltage source. That is why they've also told you that it's the same source. So you can't do this. If you provided a 3-volt source, you can only use a 3-volt source. If you have provided a 12-volt source, you can only use a 12-volt source. That is constant. So this V is proportional to I relation we cannot use here, because V is not changing. So I will not change because of V. So again you start thinking, then what will I change because of? You think and you think and you think, then what is the next thing that comes to mind? What factor does the current flowing depend upon through a wire? It's resistance, right? If the wire has less resistance, current will flow easily. If the wire has more resistance, the current will flow less. So now you come to the resistance point of view, and now you know that you are only changing area. So instantly it should click to you that we have to see the relation between resistance and area, right? So you remember that R is proportional to L. Will this be used here? No, because length is constant. It is not told that it is changing, so we assume it is constant. And R is proportional to 1 by A. What does that mean? R is inversely proportional to A, which means when one increases, the other decreases. So here it is given to us thick. So first we consider the thick wire. Is in a thick wire, area is more or area is lesser? Area is more, right? It's a thicker wire, so area is more. So since R is proportional to 1 by A, if area increases, then the resistance decreases, right? So resistance is less. Similarly, if you write for a thin wire, here area is more or less thin. So the area of the cross section is area is less. So R is proportional to 1 by A. If area is less, so resistance will be more. So R is more. Now tell me through which wire would current flow more easily when our resistance is less or resistance is more? Obviously, when resistance is less, right? Because it is going to provide lesser opposition to the current. It would not say, no, current don't flow. It would say, okay, current, you can flow through me. So, the answer will be that current will flow easily through the thick wire. And why? You would explain it in words also. Then you will show the relation. You will explain that it was seen experimentally that the resistance is inversely proportional to the area of the wire, which means then you write this relation R is proportional to 1 by A, and then you say thus it means that in a thick wire, because area is more, then resistance is less, using this relation. Thus the current flows more easily in a thick wire. Okay, great. Moving on. It says, let the resistance of an electrical component remain constant. That means resistance is given as constant, while the potential difference across the two ends of the component decreases to half its former value. What change will occur in the current through it? So what do we know the relation to be? We know what all is given here. We are given that resistance is constant. We are given potential difference, or V, changes to half, and then we have to find the change in I, right? So you will find that we can do it almost like we did in the case of the two resistances where we did R and R dash. How? We take case 1. So in case 1, resistance is R. Voltage, in case 1, I am saying when we say that potential difference decreases to half of its former value, right? So the former value is some value, say V, and in the second case, in case 2, it decreases to half of its value, which means it becomes V by 2. So voltage becomes V in the first case. In second case, it would be half, which is V by 2, and current I. If we have to find the I here, what is I by V equal to IR? You will write using Ohm's law, I is equal to V upon R. Okay. Now in case 2, what is happening? In case 2, resistance is still R. It is given to us as constant. Voltage. What is voltage given to us as? The voltage decreases to half. That means it becomes V by 2, right? Now this new I or I dash, what is it? From V equal to IR. So here I is a new I, so I'm just using I dash. R is the same and V is, what is it? V by 2. So now in case 2, it is V by 2 instead of V is equal to I, and R is same. So I is equal to, what is it? V upon 2 R, right? Now you can use the same methods, the two methods. Either you can divide I and I dash and calculate it. I prefer to just use the common terms. Now look at I. What is I? I is V by R. Can you see V by R in this term? Yes, here it is. Here is V by R, right? And what do we know V by R to be? V by R is nothing but I. Here we don't have a value for I, because remember in the last question, the resistance one, we were given that the original resistance is 4. Here we don't have an original resistance. So what we do is we just put value of I here. So we see I dash is equal to I, which is the original I, upon this 2 that is left. So I by 2. So what is happening here? The current becomes half of the original current. Like this is I by 2. So can you say that it is somewhat verifying your Ohm's law? What did Ohm's law say? That the current and the potential difference are proportional, which means if current increases, potential difference also increases. So in the question, what happened? V became V by 2. That means V became half. And then what was the answer that we got? That the current also became half, right? So you can also write in the end that this in a way verifies our Ohm's law, because we see that because voltage also becomes half of the original value, proportionally current also becomes half of the original value. So our answer is in context with or agrees with the Ohm's law. Okay, you can write that too. Great. Next question, it says, why are coils of electric toasters and electric irons made of an alloy rather than pure material? So, you must remember that when we saw that table, we saw that the conductors have very less resistivity. The alloys have little more resistivity than the conductors, and insulators have the highest resistivity. So, why would we not use materials like copper or any other low resistivity material for iron, like toasters and electric irons, right? Why would we use alloys which have more resistivity? Why would we want any material to resist current when you want to use it in an appliance? That is because it depends upon the work the appliance has to do. Now, in case of a toaster and an iron, what is the main purpose of an iron? An electric iron or a press, you would say, which you use to iron clothes or press clothes. What is the main function of it? It is to provide heat, right? So the main function of an iron is to provide heat. And what about an electric toaster? An electric toaster also makes your bread crisp because it provides heat to your bread, right? So just think about it. When a material has very low resistivity, what does it mean? Low resistivity, so low resistance, so it does not like stop the current flowing through it a lot. It does not oppose the current, so it lets current flow easily. So there is no like fight between the wire and current, so to say. You can think about it like that. But when there is some resistivity or some resistance in the material, what happens? The material is like resisting the flow of the current. It is not letting current pass through so easily. So there is going to be some amount of like tension, or they're going to fight a little bit, right? The conductor and the current is going to be like, I want to pass, I want to go through you. The resistor is going to be like, no, I'm going to resist you. So because of this, the conductors or the wires which offer high resistivity become heated. You must have noted that some appliances after a long usage become heated. Some alloys, the alloys become heated very quickly. So, in appliances where the main function of the appliance is providing heat, why would you use a low resistance material? A low resistance or a low resistivity material would not provide any resistance. Current would flow through it, so the wire or the material would not get heated up. But a higher resistance material would let some current pass through so that the circuit is completed and the function is done, but it is resisting the current also, so heat is also produced. So your functions like ironing the clothes, pressing the clothes, or toasting your bread is also complete. So that is why, that is one of the reasons why alloys are used instead of pure metals, as they have higher resistivity. So get heated up and can be used and that heat released can be used for different purposes. Okay. Second point is that these alloys actually have a much higher melting point. The pure metals tend to melt much faster. If the temperature becomes very high, the metals might melt. And what would happen if the metal melts? It would just melt and just disappear. So, would your circuit be closed and continuous? No, right? Your circuit would become open. So, the material or the appliance like your heater or toaster or electric iron, that appliance is gone because the circuit is incomplete, so the appliance will not work. That is why we use substances like alloys. So we will write that they are alloys. We would write that alloys do not melt easily even at high temperatures. Okay, and then you can look up some more points, but these are the main points that you need to know why alloys are used over metals. Okay, great. Now, the last question says that use the data in electrical resistivity table to answer the following. It is asking which among iron and mercury is a better conductor. Now for this, you'll again have to go back to your table number 12.2, and in that you will see, again you don't have to remember these quantities exactly, but you should have an idea about like which is, like we said about refractive indexes. You don't actually have to remember each and every one, but you should have an idea, okay, like silver is at the top and glass is at the bottom as an insulator, just those kind of things. Okay, but I am using your table because your question tells us to do so. So if you look at the table, you will see that iron has an electrical resistivity of around 10 into 10 to the power minus 8 ohm meter. Whereas mercury has an electrical resistivity about 94 into 10 to the power minus 8 ohm meter. Now tell me, which has a less resistivity, which has a lower resistivity, 10 into 10 to the power minus 8 or 94? It is obviously 10 into 10 to the power minus 8 rather than 94 into 10 to the power minus 8. So, which one is a better conductor? We know, we can see that iron has lower rho or resistivity, thus it lets current, I'm using symbols so I can write it fast, you will write it completely, flows easily through it as compared to, now you can't say that iron, like current flows most easily through iron, because there are substances which have even lower resistivity than iron, but here you are told to compare these two. So you will write as compared to mercury, right? Therefore, it is the better conductor. Okay? Great. Now, the next part. So, if you want to see which material is the best conductor, what would we say? That we know that the best conductor will be the material. Which will it be, with the most resistivity or least resistivity? It would be the one with the least resistivity, right? Would be the material with least rho, which is, from your table we can see that, as can be seen in table 12.2, which is the material, it is silver. Silver has a resistivity of 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 8 ohm meter. Thus, it makes it the best conductor. Okay? So, students, in this section, we learnt about resistivity and resistance and what factors resistance and resistivity depends upon. Then we saw some questions in which we were changing some factors and keeping some factors constant. So, All of those things you need to keep in mind. These few questions, especially the ones that we discussed in this class, are extremely important, which are often asked also. The ones where the values are given and you just have to put and multiply and divide, yes, those are asked too. But the conceptual questions in which like you just have to like divide the R and R dash and find it out, or you just told that the voltage is half the what would be the effect in current, you're not actually given values here, so it is a little more tricky. So you have to do these questions with utmost care. Okay students, I hope you enjoyed this class. Make sure you brush up on all your topics and you come prepared for the next class. Thank you so much and take care.